Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello,
Hello,
teacher.
Chair. Hello, Chair.
Okay, I think most of you are from the 4.4 last semester, right? Or any new people? No?
No one, Chair.
Okay, so glad to see you again. I think it's will be your last semester. We will study with you will study with me on the development economics. Okay, and so for today's session, I'd like to introduce you to the reading material and the books that we will use, okay, for our subjects, okay, and also other requirements that we will need to do in order to fulfill the requirement, okay, for the credit from the subjects. I think the let me share you the syllabus first, okay. Oh, sorry, this is not this one. Let me show you a syllabus. Okay, so this is the syllabus. Okay, I think I already uploaded in the our team, and also I'd like to move on to the part about the books. Okay, so this is the book that we will use. It's by Michael Todaro and Stephen Smith, and the title of the book is the Development Economics. Okay. Um, and we use the latest editions, which is the edition published in the year 2020. I think last 2 years is the latest by the author. By the way, the book is actually one of the great books. It's being used worldwide. Uh, I think even in top university in US or even in China. Okay, these are one of the most popular textbook. Okay, so let me share you the books. Okay, so this is the book that we use. Okay, it's the by Michael Delro and Stephen Smith. The whole book actually can be separated into two parts. Okay, so you can see here from a chapter. Okay, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. All about and also chapter 5. Okay, these are all about the concept and theory about how to make a country having or experiencing or enjoying economic growth and development. So there are many ideas, okay, about we can transform a country from low income into high income economy. Okay, so from chapter 1 up to chapter 5, you learn about all of this concept and the theory. And then from chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay, uh, up to chapter 11, you learn about the domestic issues. For example, things like population growth and urbanizations, migration, human capital, agricultural environments, and the role of civil society. All these are belong to the domestic issues. And the rest of the book from chapter 12, 13, 14, and 15 would touch on international issues. Okay, so you can imagine this book, and the book is actually very thick. Uh, Regarding what make the book interesting, I one of impression I think about the book is that it's provide a lot of descriptive, and they have a lot of case study. Okay, and the new version have updated a lot of cases. So so Totaro actually is one of the best well-known development economists, and Actually, the way he write, he like telling the story, and it's look very, very storytelling. I mean, it look nice. So take time and read the books, and you may actually explore. Okay, you may experience. Okay, and make the assessment by yourself. Okay, of how good the book is. Yeah. The textbook, the main textbook we will use along the semester. Okay. The other reference textbook that we may use is the one. I think it's um, the handbook for. Okay. So this is the handbook is one of the very good textbook, which is very technical and very advanced, and it cover every issues, okay, and mostly the very issues that have been studied in the field of development economics, okay. Uh, so if you want to know what is the latest discovery or new ideas about how development issues is being handled, okay, so reading the handbook is one of the things you want to do, okay. However, the book actually is very technical, so you can see so far they have published in volume, okay, and the latest one would be volume 5, and it was published in the year 2000, I think 2010, okay, yeah. And you can see it covers many of issues in development. For example, in volume 1, you can see here original concept, okay, and then you move to the volume 2 about the multi-sector taxation project evaluation, okay, and moving to other chapter, okay. So you want to see, I think you can read this book. However, the book is a little bit more technical, okay. So some very, but the very technical sometimes give you the new idea, new concept, okay. You want to explore more, you can read this. Um, uh, it's very detailed and very comprehensive, okay. Very detailed and very comprehensive. Um, okay, so this is the book, and for other reading, I think I will share with you if I have, okay, during our lecture, okay, during the whole semester, okay. If I do have a new reading material, okay. So let me go back to the books again. Okay. Let me go to the syllabus, okay. Moving back to the syllabus. Okay, so uh, about the requirement, the assessment, I think it's not so different from what you had in the previous semester. So we have the quiz, okay, which is about 10%, and we have reflection papers, okay, a very short writing. In the last semester, I found many of you actually did not submit. I don't know why I have given a lot of time, but still not many people are writing it, okay. And we have midterm, which is about 15%, okay. I will actually have a review for you, so you can become very well prepared, okay, before you take the actual midterm exam. And we have the group presentation as we did in the previous semester. So I'm going to sing about the topics and about the how to assign you in the groups. And by now I don't have exact number yet, okay. The the office, school office did not actually provide exact number, so there will be a new student come in and then some may change out, okay. So I'm not quite sure yet, so it's hard and very difficult for me, okay, to put you into groups, okay. So I will inform you about the topic for the group assignment when we meet next time. And also I will let you know who will be in which group, okay? By the way, the way we do the group presentation is not different from what we had in the previous semester. So you need to prepare the slide presentations for your group, and I encourage that a member in the group have chance to make the presentations. And also I like if we may have the discussions, okay, as like what we did in the previous semester. So the group may have to come with the one discussion questions. And for the report, I don't need report for this group assignment, but you need to submit uh, the slide presentation to me. And we have the final exam, just like we had, and it is organized by the school office. Okay, so I don't have much authority on that, but we have some preparation for you so that you can become well prepared, okay, for the final exam. That's the sessions assessment. For other rule about lateness, about absenteeism and other, please read the DIS handbook. Okay, it's just much the same like other subjects. Okay. Any thing you need clarification regarding the assessment and the books? Everything okay? Danit, good morning. Teacher Danit.
No question, like.
Okay. Okay, seeing you don't have any questions, I think we can move to our lectures.
Teacher,
Yes, go ahead.
regarding the term paper, do we have one like the previous semester or
Yeah,
different?
yes, so yes, very similar to that ones. You need to write maybe one page, okay, or 2 pages regarding the issues that being given, or maybe trying to answer the question that I assign, okay. A very short writing, okay.
Okay, like thank you.
Okay, so I think we can move to the lecture, and we cannot cover everything today, but at least we can get an idea of what the subject is and what development economics, how it is different from the other subject in economics. Okay. So let's begin by. So in this chapter 1, we will try to define what development is. Okay, what development is. People talk about development. You see in even at uh, global stage with the United Nations, you always hear the word development. So we need to have one definition for that, and that would pave the way for us to measure, okay, measures, to measure development, okay. So we will see the concept about the development and its measure. And then we may take a little minute to listen to the experience of people who is called the poor. They are called the poor, okay. We want to see their experience, how they describe being poor, okay, from different part of the world, okay. And then we will define what our development economic is, okay. That would set the way of how difference of our development economics and other subjects in the field of economics. We will review the nature of the development economic, its characteristic that make it different from other traditional economics. Then we will continue to discuss the concept, okay, and the measurement about how we going to measure the development. Then we come to one of the very recent measurement on development, that is a consensus and being agreed by country who are the member of the UN, which we call the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal. Okay. So let's begin by defining what we mean by development. So development can be defined as the process of improving the quality of all human life and capability, okay, by rising the people level of living, self-esteem, and the freedoms. Okay. So you can think of development is like a process. Process, it means something that it have to move from one state to the other state, something like that. Okay. So it may take times. Okay, take times. And you can see in the definition there are some kind of change, which is the improvement. There must be some improvement in human life. Okay, human life, the way they live, and also their capabilities. Okay, so it raised the level of living for the people and their self-esteem and the freedom to those people. Okay, so I think maybe a good description would be, you can see there's a transform from the subsistence economy like this one, where farming is depending on traditional technology. Okay, I mean the 1,000 years ago that they used this approach to do the farmings. Okay, and you can see this is emerging of having no electricity. Okay, and then you transform your nation into the one that you can see today. Of course, I skip the middle part. Okay, there are some actually in the transition between this beginning and the end part. Okay, so that is the process. Of course, you see many of the country in the in Asia, especially in the Southeast Asian, like in Cambodia, we transform from a low income economy, and then we move into the lower middle income. Okay, and then we expect to become upper middle income nations by the year 2030. And then we expect to become a high income economy by the year 2050s. So there is a stage of process of improvement. Okay. So in short, what we mean by development is we're referring to be some change, a change that in a way that can make the life better. Okay, life of people better. And there are many concepts and idea about how to, and some actually become very successful, some not. Okay, so you can see some of the country can transform themselves to become a high income economy. A good lesson would be country like Singapore, okay, or maybe a country like South Korea, or even Japan, who now are the high income economies. So they transform themselves, okay, and it takes time. You cannot do it just 1 or 2 years. It takes time to transform yourself. And of course, you need way, you need mechanism, you need machine. Okay, you could find, you figure out the machine, you may be able to transform. But you can see there are also some challenges. If you're looking at the country in ASEAN, we have 10 countries, and one of the interesting thing that we found recent years in recent decades is we see, for example, country like Thailand. Okay, Thailand. You may heard about Thailand. Thailand actually in the year about I think 1986, around that years, Thailand started to grow very fast. Their economy. They received a lot of the FDI from Japan and many advanced economy, and the Thailand economy grew actually very fast in the next 10 years, up to the year in 1997 when they encountered the crisis. Okay, the Asian crisis, the currency crisis. But the good lesson from Thailand is that from the year of around 1980s up to they keep growing. Okay, at economic growth keep growing from 1 year to the next years. Okay, but by today, if we count, it's almost 20 years, 30 years. But Thailand remain, of course, they have graduated from low income to become the middle income and upper middle income, but they cannot move forward. Okay, they cannot move forward. So in other words, they get stuck. We call this an incident because such kind of incident is middle income trap. Okay, middle income traps. So many of the countries have actually graduated from from low income to middle income, but they stuck there. They cannot move forward. And they have so it's nice to see how we could move forward. So there's some kind of obstacle that may come in, and it prevent the country from moving forward. Okay, it could be a structure, it could be the institution, or some kind of weakness that appear to retard the step forward. Okay, to delay the step forward. So it was very challenging for Thailand today and trying to move forward. Okay, so you can see that the development is not an issue of developing country trying to transform themselves from being poor nations or low income country to become a middle income or high income economy, but it's also about the middle income economy and also the high income economy, whether they can move forward or they would fall back. There are experience of many countries that going forward and then they fall back. Okay, I think in Southeast Asian, one of the country that experience fallback, okay, is I think it's you may heard of Philippines, right? Philippines turned to be one of the very pioneer in industrialization in Southeast Asians. They may be ahead of Singapore or even Thailand or even ahead of Malaysia. Okay, so Philippines is one of the pioneer, and in the year 1960, Singapore actually lead the way of industrialization. But later on, Philippines actually fall. Their economy turned to contracts. Rather than having economic growth, they have economic contracts and they move back. Okay, they fall back. Some country in Latin America also experience the same phenomenon. Okay, so they move before they move to the the middle income, and then you fall back to the low income economy. So it's not always sure that you graduate and you will not fall back. Okay, unless you have mechanism to keep moving. So we call that the sustainability, right? Sustainability. So how you could sustain the ability of your economy? How could you have a resilient? Okay, resilient is the key for keeping your economy to be strong and stay there and always move forward. Okay, so so economic development, as I said, it's not only about poor country, it's also suitable for the middle income country, developing countries, and also for high income economy. Okay, even matter for high income economy like in Europe. Okay, country like the richest in the world, like in Norway or even in Holland. Okay, they have the highest income in the world, the richest. Okay, they still have problem of about how trying to find a better living. I mean, in those countries, income or money become of secondary. Okay, the first important thing for them is enjoying. Okay, the relaxations, having less working hours. Okay, something that is non-material. Okay, so they're still seeking. Okay, for a well-beings. Okay, and why the rest of the country okay are trying to moving forward. So as I say, the topic is broad, and it's not only belong to the poor country, it's also suitable for the developing countries and also the developed country or the advanced industrialized countries. Okay, because they need way to sustain their economic growth and development. Okay. So hopefully you get the idea. So you will see in the lecture there are many concepts, many theory proposing about how to transform economy, ranging from the classic theory to the recent series and more actually new ideas coming out. Okay. We also living in Cambodia. We experience some of the transformation in the last 10 years, 20 years, right? I believe that you see some change. Okay, and in the past we used to have, I mean, some good disappear from the market and some other good are coming in the market, and new technology is being. During my generation, I do not have such smartphone, okay, and even don't know such app, okay, but we have a lot of things. So we experience the transformation. We go through it, okay, and it's like very nice to see how is there any concept and theory about how such kind of transformations and structural change. Okay, so we see it in the subsequent chapter. The next thing I want to do is to the listening to the people about when so if we're looking at the definition of this is meant the development is about improving, okay, improving the life of people. They can live better, they have better well-beings, okay. So perhaps one of issues that development economic have to do is to bring them some income and to eliminate the poverty, okay, so that there's no more so people can actually have better living. Because income is just one part, but it's also very important for them to have income before you can have anything else. So one of the goal of development and development economic is to reduce the poverty. So it's very interesting to listen to the people, how they describe when they are being poor. I think this part actually more fit and suitable for those who do the qualitative approach, okay, in doing research, okay. I think you join the people who are past the honorarium lecture, right? You learn already qualitative. So in qualitative, we like to listen to people and tell a story. So sometimes it's good to put yourself, okay, represent yourself in that positions, okay. For example, you want to learn about how those people live. Maybe it's better to be one of them and stay with them and observe and learn experience, okay. So that is the quality. I mean, you tell the story, okay. We don't need quantity, we don't need to quantify it, but we want to see what is going on, okay. And we want to see the conceptual from the ground, okay. So this is how they describe. So first we go to Uganda and one of the country in Africa and listen to a woman who describe about being a poor woman. So what she said is that when one is poor, she has no say in the publics. She feels inferior. She has no food. So there is famine in her house. I mean, you don't have food, okay? And occurs no clothing, no progress in her family. This is from a poor woman in Uganda, okay? So perhaps you see in her speech, it describes she feeling very much inferior, okay? In her comparing minds when comparing to other people, okay? About being inferior, no freedom, nobody listen to what she want to say. They don't care about what she say, okay? Okay, so this is how being poor, how she feel, okay? When she was in a poor, being a poor, how she being treated. We listen to her words, we can imply what caused her to say this word, okay? So when you do qualitative research, it's emerging to understand why they see those words behind those words. So perhaps they're being treated in the community in the past living, okay, being disrespects, okay, and she having a lot of difficulty. You can imagine that, okay, if we put ourselves. So let's move to the other people in other part of the world in this Maldives, okay, one of the poorest country, okay. So this what she said, and this is the disabled person. So she said that for a poor person, everything is terrible. Illness, humiliation, shame, and we are cripples, okay, because she's a disabled person, and we are afraid of everything. We depend on everyone. No one need us, and we are like garbage that everyone want to get rid of. So this is the speech. So say being actually describe the situation. She's in a situation of very, very terrible. Terrible mean horrifying, perhaps. She's experiencing no freedom at all, cannot move, okay, or perhaps nobody respects, and she have to depend on many people for survival, perhaps to give her food as a donations or whatever, okay. So it seems like this is how she feel about it, okay. Moving to the other, it's in her description, right, you can see a lot of things happening about self-respect, about having food, about being ill, having a good health, all appearing in her descriptions. Okay? This is another speech from a person in rural Ethiopia, okay, one of the country in Africa. And what the person says that a life in the area is so precarious that the youth and every able person have to migrate to the towns or join the army at the war fronts in order to escape hazard of hunger escalating over here. So we can listen to this and we can actually imagine that perhaps they are fighting against hunger, no food, and there maybe they are dropped there and no food supply, nothing to eat, and many people have to do migrations from that rural part, okay, to other parts in the countries, and also perhaps they have to join in the fightings in wars, okay, because at least becoming in the army, even you could face injury in the war, at least you can have something to eat, okay. So we can listen to these people. We can know that in Ethiopia, perhaps there's a lot of migration is going on, okay, and we may actually try to learn that there's some civil war is happening in the country, okay. So and it's about food supply, okay, and security of the person is appearing by implication of this speech, okay. So this is how we go about doing qualitative. We figure out, we coding the words, okay. We coin the word, okay. And not especially in qualitative, but listening to the story, okay, it's telling us a lot what is going on when the person is being poor, okay. One of the conclusion or the synthesis or consolidate we can get from this, we see that it seems like there's a universal theme reflect in this quote, okay? So it seems like the poverty, being poor, is not only about not having money, right? It's not about lacking income. It's also having a lot of things like no food, no clothes, poor health, being disrespect, okay, or being insecure, okay, and being hunger and disregard, okay, something like that. So you see that the poverty is not only about income. It could be poor in many ways, okay? Poor health, poor educations, or being poor respect, okay, by other people in the community. So that's the starting point. So the poverty should be seen in terms of multi-dimension. Okay, so by now you need anything you so this is just a story, okay? It's nice to listen to these people. Okay.
Teacher, actually so far so good, but
yeah.
But one of the classmate is still in the requesting room, teacher.
Oh, really? Who's new class, new student?
No, teacher. His name is Wang Chan Visan, teacher.
I think I already gave the class code to water net and swimming, right? So they should be able to access to the by using the class code. Maybe they can join it. Let me see. Okay, wait a minute. Because if you join by using class code, you can become, I mean, a member in the class, and you have more ability, okay, to do a lot of things. And if you join by just as a guest, it would be very difficult. Let me go to the. I'm gonna check.
Or I can send him the code. It's okay, teacher.
Yeah, please send him the code because it's better for him to join as a member, okay, not a guest. So
Yes,
he have the
Thank you,
ability
teacher.
to do a lot of things, okay. Please send him the code. Okay, so any question? If not, I think we can move one more step. It's nice listening to this story. Okay. But I think I want to say a movie you can watch. Wait a minute. Okay.
Have a much brighter future. Not just because of better health, but a booming economy too,
Okay,
with
what's-
busy ports and markets and new industries with lots of new jobs. I know you might be thinking that this good news is just about cities and towns. And it's true. The worst challenge is in the rural areas where most people live. But things are changing here too. Deep in rural northern Mozambique lies the district of Mogovolas. This is home for Olivia, Andre, and their young family. Like so many other poor people in the world, Olivia and Andre are farmers, reliant on what they grow for what they eat. It's 4 a.m. and the day's tasks beckon. Andre heads straight to the fields. Olivia first goes to fetch water. Both have to walk miles to get anywhere.
Well, okay, guys, that are really.
With no other means of transport, everything has to be carried. Olivia and Andre have 8 children. Fertility rates are still high in much of who have the most mouths to feed. Anything this family can spare, they'll sell.
Mi kirero o sofereri masikinoli mape wakule purututu masivali wakule purututu ne nkimpanyere tu para wera permero shikiwe he opanya mzuruku wawera kitile kabana na kalaba.
Yet, economic growth is slowly trickling into the countryside.
Empagela kitenka kichapele nonela kivandri yakataru.
Now, Andre has set his sights on one thing he believes will change everything.
Pankerero vela. Kinamochelo wetra mahoi kanachin.
Can make a huge difference to the lives of the rural. They can carry much heavier loads to the market and earn more money. They can travel to find work, and if they get sick, they can reach a health clinic in time.
Opora kitume chinka kori ikinoteli ya pe kinokana normoteli ya poroke echinka etoke hikale chinka etok wewe tuyo etokeyo kelonke.
Andre and Olivia have been putting money away for 2 years. They haven't quite enough yet. everything now depends on the sesame seeds, which they are just harvesting. If they can get a good price, they might just make it. Andrea and Olivia live in one of the poorest countries, and they live in the rural area, which is the poorest part of that country. So how many people are there in the world living like they? And how many are there that are poorer? I'm going to show you this yardstick. Very simple, poor and rich. And here I have all the 7 billions again. They are in a very simplified way lined up there from the poorest to the richest. Now, how much does the richest billion earn here in dollar per day? Well, let's look here. Ooh, it's coming up, it's coming up. Ooh, I can't even reach $100 a day. Then let's look at the middle billion, who is exactly in the middle. How much do they earn? It'll come, yes, just 10. And then I go over here to the poorest billion. How much do they get? Well, just 1. This is the difference of the world today. And the economists, they draw a line which they call the line for extreme poverty, a little above $1. That's when you hardly can have enough food to feed the family. You cannot be sure that you have food all days, you know. And 1 billion is clearly below that still. And the second billion is sort of divided by that line. And then the others are above it. Now, the poorest people, they can hardly afford to buy shoes. And when they get shoes, the next thing they will save for is bicycle. This is where Andrea and Olivia is. And after bicycle, you will go for the motorbike. And then after the motorbike, it's the car. And I remember when my family got the first car, it was a small gray Volkswagen. The first thing we did was to go to Norway on holiday, because Norway is so much more beautiful than Sweden. It was. I'm in this group. I can go, like the richest billion, we can go on holiday by airplanes. Of course, there are people who are much richer than the airplane people. Some are so rich, so they're even contemplating that they should go as tourists out into space. And the difference in income from the airplane people to the very richest over there is almost as big as it is from the airplane people here, you know, all the way down to the poorest in that side. Now, the most important to remember from this yardstick is this. And I need to show you this, I need my stepladder. Sometimes you need some old, well-functioning technology also. Here. I can only reach up. Here they are. Now I'm at the top. The problem for us living on $100 a day is that when we look down on the difference, you know, and to understand this, this is what Olivia and Andrea is trying to do now. Each little step they take along this line here, you know, from the shoes towards the bicycle, small as it may seem from far distance, make a huge difference in their life. And if Andrea and Olivia would get that bicycle, it would speed them along to better life and better wealth up in this end. Today, Andrea and Olivia are preparing to sell the sesame crop they've been growing for many months. But Andrea and Olivia will have to be careful if they are to get paid the proper price.
No kala no shuti hiya twale to kwale nda ya ro kunyale iwe ali balance za vale water wanoro vale zolikana ahana tukwa ka chininya le vantsuwela yavo akora pitari 10 kilo vale nro kuma balance vale hiya ni pitandri balance ahu enro kuma vale seti awoito.
Andre is going to do the selling, and for the last time, he hopes, he has to get help to transport the crop to market. Andre now needs to keep his wits about him.
Hey, amigo.
The deal is done. and Andre's happy with the price he's got. It's the moment the family have worked so hard for.
Hola. Yarwa. Hola. Yarwa.
Andre's journey to market took all morning to walk. Now, in less than an hour, he can ride home. The bicycle is put to use at once. The children fetch water with it. Andrea carries more crops to the market. And just as importantly, Olivia and Andrea can now easily reach their lessons for adults, so they can learn better maths and how to read and write. It's so great to see Olivia and Andre pedaling their way out of extreme poverty. And they use the bicycle to go to literacy classes. Education is so important.
Okay, hello back. So what I want to show you is that it's you can see how the transformation is taking place, and this is how there's a key link. Okay, for example, in the video you can see the infrastructure like bicycle can become a key that transform, okay, from being living under the poverty line and to having a better education and a better health. And so income, and sometimes you need to figure out, okay, such kind of way, okay, of transforming, okay. Okay, so that is the cover. So let me moving back, okay, to the slide. Okay, okay, so what is the definition that we can give for the development economic? We know that development is about the multi dimensions. It's begin about having income, but after you have income, you can access to education or having a good health and so on. So it's a multi-dimension issues. So development economic can be defined as the study of how economy are transformed from stagnations to grow, and from low income to high income status, and overcome the problem of the absolute poverty. Okay, so we look at the way, as I said, transforming, okay, transforming your status from being low income into a high income economy, okay, and there's reducing the poverty in the countries. So the subject of this development economic look at the key challenges that faced by the many of developing economy that they try to reach the fully developed status. What are the difficulty? What kind of the key mechanism and barrier and obstacle that maybe get in the way? So we will discuss along in the development economic. So the other thing about development economic is that it is quite different from the traditional economic, like the macro and the microeconomic, or even the international trade and the national finance that we study. One is that it have a greater scope, okay? Greater scope than traditional economics and political economy, okay? Greater scope in the sense that it is a multidisciplinary approach, and it draw on different concepts. You see, many dimensions of development are not only about economics. It's including things like freedoms, about health, about education. Okay, it's about security and so on. All of these are can be learned from the multidisciplinary approach. Okay, so you will see in the lecture, I mean, if you read the book, you can see even you can touch on the peace, securities, and about law, regulation, and so on. Okay, so this is a multidisciplinary subject. Okay, and it addresses the economic, social, political, and institutional mechanism, both at the public and private. So it's go beyond the traditional economic. In traditional economic, we pay most attention on income, okay? Making people have more incomes, and also, well, making them get the best benefit from consumption. That's what we did, okay? But in development economic, we go beyond that. We look at the social issues, talking about like inequality, about having educations, better health, better educations, and better respect and freedom, self-esteem in society, okay, and so on. One of the very important difference between the study in development economic and in the traditional economic is that it focuses on the social system, okay? Or you may actually referring to this social system like the organization and institutional structure, okay? So institution here referring to the, it could be the norm, the culture, or a law or regulation that set the behavior, the way people behave, okay? So it's including things like value, attitude, power structure, and tradition that set the way people in the country actually behave. And the so in other words, the subject of development economic recognize or admit the relationship, okay, the interdependence between economic and non-economic factors, okay, and it pay a lot of attention on these institutional structures, okay, because this structure actually can prevent it could be an explain for the case that country cannot move forward, okay, and it could be why the country moves slow and why some country move fast, okay. So institution here not mean the organization that you see, or it's referring to the system in the country, okay. So it could be a law, a culture, or some kind of norm, attitude, okay, that set the behavior of the people in a way that prevent them or delay them from moving forward or from transform, okay. So this is the key thing. I think if you happen to read the book like the one by, I think you may have the book by the James Robinson, okay, James Robinson's, and Acemoglu, okay. Acemoglu actually write a very good books. It's called The Well of Nations, okay, Well of Nations, Well of Nations, and the book is actually talk about history of many countries. So they see both the poor country and rich country, okay, and he looking at the past 100 years. So he see that many countries under the colonizations, and some country actually after they get independent, they can move forward, but some actually remain underdeveloped, being poor and remain poor after they get the independence. So Acemoglu actually say that he argued that some of the aspect is during the colonization, the colonizer actually put some kind of structures. Okay, they bring in some law, okay, like taxation law in Cambodia, okay, that introduced by France, education system and so on, that set the way we work. You see that the function of the public sector in our country more influenced by this. It's the legacies of the past, okay. So you see that it's a bureaucratic. It have many organizations dealing the same case, okay, overlapping, okay. This is one of the aspects that Acemoglu actually mentioned. It's so the fact that you cannot grow faster, perhaps somehow because of this legacy of the colonization that set you in a way that prevent you from. It's a good textbook, okay. So you have time, you can read the book and see such an history and argument of Acemoglu, okay, and James Robinson. Oh, let me share the book. I think I try to get from the internet, okay. I'll show the book to you. The Well of Nations. in Why Nation Fell. Okay, the book is Why Nation Fell. Not right. Okay, so let me share you this. So the title of the book is Why Nation Fell. Okay, I think this. Okay, let me go for the books. Okay, so this is the book by Daron Acemoglu and James Robinson. Okay, so I think if you interest, you can take a read at that. Okay, so it describes like what I say. It's some kind of structure that's actually existing in the country, and it could prevent the country from the transformation and make them remain poor even after they get independence. Okay, even they want to try to have reform, but they cannot do it. So this is a good one of the very good. So why nation fell? Okay, it's one of the good textbook book. Okay, one of the good books. Okay, I think that's the thing I want to. So I only introduce you. So next week we will talk more about the concept of measurements and what do we mean by development and how are we going to measure it. Okay. Okay. When we meet next time. So for now, any question regarding the definitions and the books? Okay, and thing I mentioned earlier. Okay, so we don't have any questions. So I think we can stop here. Okay, we will continue next week, and we will talk about how we measure. Okay, how we measure. Let's say we look at the country and say, oh, this country is not yet developed. But this country is developed. So we need some kind of concept and also some kind of measure. And whenever we can measure, we can do comparisons, whether we're better than others or whether we have improved comparing to the past. So measurement about development is one of the key subject, okay, that we will look at, okay. So with that, I like to end the meeting here, and I will